Testing, testing, one, two, three, one, two, three. Hello, YouTubers. This is a special video. It targets a particular issue that is a very hot issue these days on social media and amongst technologists and engineering communities, which is the idea of free speech on the World Wide Web, on social media specifically, and how what are the rules that govern what someone can say or can't say, what are the rules that govern what a particular entity can do with its users' data, and all of that kind of good stuff that people actually are starting to talk about and express freely, and actually try to think about what kind of impact these issues can bring to our communities. And as we evolve as engineers and as human beings in general, we need to find out where we go wrong and some of our flaws in how we express ourselves, on social media. What kind of rights have we given up, to allow someone else to control us through social media and all that kind of stuff. So it sounds like that, social media, all of social media today, including the one that you're probably using right now to watch this video, have a big flaw. It has a big problem. And the problem in it is potentially the fact that there is one entity or one individual that can, with a single click of a button, can end your social existence on in the cyberspace on the internet by simply just clicking one button. So you're basically giving someone out there the full rights, full legal rights to end all your existence on social media by simply one click of a button. That's horrible. That's horrifying. The reason for that is that, now that technology is more and more involved in our lives, people put in, some people make a living out of being on social media, like the YouTubers that monetize their channels. They make an actual living. They pay rent and they buy food and they do all of that stuff by simply being by existing on social media. So that means that their livelihood depends on the platform, and the platform is dependent on one entity which, can decide at any point in time to end its relationship with this particular YouTuber or this particular social media influencer, whatever, social media they're using. Now, that's a big problem. The big problem with that is that it gives a little bit too much power for someone to violate a basic human right to express one themselves, in public, right? A lot of people would say things like, well, it's their platform, it's their business, so they should be free to, ban whoever they want and, run whatever social experiences on people, like what Facebook did few years ago when they ran social experimentation on people. They started showing people, sad news and seeing how people would react to that, and then start showing people in their timeline good news and then seeing how people would react to that. I think we need to re-engineer social media. I think social media is absolutely ridiculous how social media is engineered today. The idea of this, overlords, the tech overlords that, can, just simply with a single click of a button or one decision, or just flipping a record in a database, like visible, flip that record to invisible, and you just disappeared. You don't exist. I think that's way too much power, to allow someone to have at any given point in time. I think, the fact that people, don't have the ability or the alternative, to exist on the internet, especially during this pandemic times where people can't even go out there and socialize in a restaurant or, or a social gathering, whatever the case may be, it becomes even more dangerous because, with a single click of a button, people wouldn't even know if you're still alive or not, right? So how does that work? How does that work? How can we this is a problem, and engineers like myself love problems. We love to solve problems. That's what we do. That's what we do for a living. How can we re-engineer social media in a way that doesn't give too much power to one individual to actually control someone's life, and at the same time, it doesn't give someone power to actually run social experimentation on people, and it doesn't give someone the power to snoop in on people so they can sell them particular ads and particular advertisement. This is a very big problem, a very complex problem. And to be honest with you, I've been reading the news. I've been seeing comments from people like Uncle Bob, Martin Fowler, a lot of technologists in the engineering field today have been showing and talking about some concerns about what can we do as engineers. And I started thinking about this problem, and then this morning it hit me. Um, I thought, well, you know, a long time ago, we used to use a network called IRC, Internet Relay Chat or something like that. And people used to host their own instances and create their own chats while still being able to connect to each other, while these servers are spread and owned by completely separate individuals and separate communities. People who are, super excited about movies, and those who are excited, interested into programming languages, and those who are interested in all different things that you can think of, books, whatever the case may be. Every community would have their own network and a server, and they can host that community on that server. And still using the same client, they even had a diversification of clients, where people could just chat, and talk to each other. It doesn't matter what client you're building because it's all open source. All you have to know is just, you need to be able to have a box where you can send a message, and another box where you can read messages, and another box where you can just click on a person and actually privately chat with them. So I thought to myself, what if we made this mainstream? What if we took this to the next level and we made this actually a social media platform where you get to post ideas and they get published within communities, and then you get to decide whether your posts or your profile are accessible within a particular range of people through configurations. This is really nerdy and very technical talk, and obviously, as an entrepreneur engineer myself, there's obviously steps where this can be mainstreamed and, productized in a way that, a grandma in Nebraska could log into this new social media idea, or concept, and be able to use it without actually having to know what configurations are and what servers are and what hosting these servers are. Let's jump ahead here to the blackboard, and let's talk about what I'm talking, and let's try to visualize what I'm talking about. So here's the board here. Here's what I'm talking about. So let's say, okay, so on GitHub, I'm gonna go ahead and publish a source code of a project that I call Taarof. Taarof. Taarof is basically an Arabic word that means get to know each other, socialize, be social. So that's Taarof. And any individual in the world, let's say this is an engineer and this is an engineer, someone who knows how to read code, right? And this is an engineer and this is an engineer. No matter where they are, what they are in the world, let's say these engineers in here, they decided to go and clone or take a copy of Taarof, right? They went and they got a copy from Taarof. This guy said, I'm going to take a copy. This guy said, I'm going to take a copy. And the same thing went for this guy and this guy. Let's say these guys are from completely different regions in the world. They have their own traditions, they have their own rules, and they do whatever they want to do with their communities, right? Somehow, these folks want to still be able to socialize with the rest of the world, but they don't want to be censored and they don't want to be governed or being guinea pigs for some guy in an office in Silicon Valley where they become a test subject without their consent. and their data becomes shared without their consent. All right, so these are engineers. So this layer here is the layer of engineers, and these engineers basically decided, well, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna, I don't know why my font colors are all wacky. Let's fix this. And they said we're gonna go ahead and, take a clone of this. And each and every one of them decided that they are going to have a server. Each one of them decided to host their own copy on a particular server like this. So this is a server, and this is a server, and this is a server. Each one of them have their own server. And they decided to host Taarof on their own servers. With hosting things on their own server, while they're hosting their own servers, now they get to configure their servers of the level of exposure to other servers. So let's say, the first engineer, let's give these engineers some names, right? Let's say we have John, we have Viral, we have Ahmed, and we have Kailu from all different nations and from all different places around the world, right? So let's say Kailu said, you know what, I don't mind, opening my server to connect with servers from a particular regions in the world, right? Let's say this is hosted in China, this is hosted in Dubai, let's say this is hosted in um, uh, Bangalore. I'm sorry if I misspelled this, and this is hosted in Los Angeles. And let's call this Beijing so we're consistent. Beijing, like that. So each one of those decided to host their community wherever they want to host it around the world. Okay, well, that's great. Now what? Now these communities, they configured their communities to be accessible, for particular regions and discoverable by particular regions, but they're not governed like Ahmed can't govern Kailu's server, and Kailu can't tell Viral what people can say and can't say on her server in her community, and the same thing goes to John. John can't tell Kailu what they can have and what they can't have, but what they have in common is Taarof, which is the interface, this website. So they have, each one of them has a website underneath, and these websites are all look the same. They all have the same experience because it's the same source code. And these websites, obviously maintaining the same experience is really important because, if you want people to be able to connect to each other and talk to each other, that would be how you want to maintain it. But obviously it's open source, so people get to do whatever they want to do with their communities. So they all are servers and their websites, some of them hosted in Azure, some hosted in AWS, someone hosting their server in a basement under a bed their bed. It doesn't matter where they're hosting their community, they're just hosting their community somewhere, right? Now, all of these folks are offering their communities online. So from a high level perspective, the community, all these communities are all listed, out there for people. If you have the URL or the configuration of the community, that immediately means that you can actually join in and connect to that community if and only if the community allows you to connect to them. If it doesn't allow you to connect to them, then you won't be able to join. So some people are allowed, some people are allowed to. Someone might say, you know what, I'm going to allow my community to connect to the whole world. So anyone could join my community, anyone could post whatever they want. It's governed by me and it's honored by me. And I'm going to tell you in a second what does that mean and in a second. So that means that, a lot of people around the world can now go and basically create their own. Let me fix this real quick. So a lot of people around the world can go, anybody around the world can go and join whatever community they want. Like this, like this, like this. What does that mean? Each and every person they could actually become a part of whatever community they want, and every community has their own rules, and no one person, this is basically the concept, the democratization of social media. Social media is not, it is now not owned by one person. It's owned by many, many people around the world, and you can join whichever community you want without having to fear, to get censored and get silenced and all that kind of stuff. Well, then that means that one person in here can join this community, and this same person can be a part. Well, he said, this guy said, I want to be a part of this community in Los Angeles, but I also want to be a part of this community in China, for instance. While some others say, no, man, I don't want to be, I'm not really interested in any other communities. I'm just going to be in this community here. I'm going to mind my own business. I'm going to stay here. I don't want to be part of this community. And the same thing goes for the rest. Each and every one of these people will be able to connect to whichever community they want to connect to. Well, what does that mean then? It means that instead of having one single entity making literally trillions of dollars out of marketing agencies and advertisers and all of that so they can, sell your data. Instead, these people are going to have to talk to the owners of these communities, which can be in the hundreds of thousands around the world. And we're basically, breaking out this monolith and breaking out this cyber kind of censorship, one individual and one entity of governing this entire world's social media platform. And we're allowing Kailu and Ahmed and Viral and John and all the people that actually own these communities to be able to benefit from advertisement in their own communities. All right, so a popular social media platform like Facebook today, wherever the advertisement happens, it goes back to them, all the way back to them in Silicon Valley. So if you're a simple person that wants to advertise for their startup business somewhere in Cairo, Egypt, for instance, and you want people that are from Cairo, Egypt in this particular page and Facebook to actually know about your business, you have to pay some guy all the way in Silicon Valley in Los Angeles. That's a bad idea. That doesn't sound right. What if we could break this down and break it apart technologically from my standpoint? And this is what Taarof is. Taarof is basically we want to get to know each other without us having to be in control of anybody. Someone might say, Will, aren't you like, isn't in this case, isn't John in this particular case in control of the people that are, joining the community? I'm like, well, that's right. That's absolutely right. John could actually ban any of them if he wants to. But the difference here is that if John bans you, you don't lose your account. You don't lose your presence from this entire world. What happens is if John doesn't like you, you can join Michael, which also in Los Angeles, which also is in the same area, which is very likely to have the same. And if you don't like either one of them, go and build your own community. This comes into the productization aspect of it, where it becomes super streamlined. Like I said, I want a grandma in Nebraska to be able to look at the code, to look at Taarof as a social media platform and say, I can join this, it's so easy. I can join this website and I can actually connect to my neighbors. For the most part, if you think about social media as a whole, social media, you don't really reach to everyone in the world all the time. You don't really join every single group all the time. What you're really doing all the time is that there's this group of people that you hang out with and you want to communicate with and you can just stay in contact with. So what if, like families, for instance, some families, it could be let's say the McKinsey's families, for instance, let's say these folks they just want to get to know each other, and whenever one of their kids have a girlfriend or they get married or they have kids, wherever the case may be, they join the same network, and they all share pictures with each other, and they all be able to connect to each other, and there is no censorship. There is no this hidden guy behind the scene who can see their pictures and see their videos and see their life without their permission. They can spin up their own server and say, this is our own private server, and this is just for family only, and we're not going to allow anyone else, to actually access our network. If we want to access any other network, we should just find the network link and attach that link and configure that link in your profile and go ahead and go see other communities and go see other people and talk to them. This is just an idea. Okay, it's just a proposal. It's just, one attempt to think about how can we go about, uh, decentralizing social media and engineering free speech so people don't have to be canceled or don't have to be targeted for what they say or what they do. All they have to do is just go join another room or join another community and just continue, to share your ideas and get to know each other and all that. And obviously, with everything like this, there comes risks, right? The risks is that, is this dividing us more? Is this making us more inaccessible to each other? I would argue the contrary, because, if you look, technology, you know, the most successful technology is the technology that resembles nature and resembles real life, that reflects how we are. If you want to actually join a social club of people, you have to have an application, they have to get to know you, you have to talk to them, and all that kind of stuff. But having a social club of some 2 or 3 billion people with one guy at the top telling who can say what and who can't say what and all that, and people get angry and agitated, that sounds like a bad idea. That sounds like a bad idea. It sounds like it's too much power put in the hands of one individual that can take that kind of action without repercussions. I don't know. It's just something that was bothering me. I thought I'd think about it. And if you have any comments, questions, if you want to discuss this, absolutely. I'm gonna drop the link for Taarof on GitHub in the description of this video, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say about this. I still have to follow up with a lot of articles and studies and research. I can't wait to share with you, the experience of what happens when we try to create a decentralized social network. A decentralized social network where people actually can, socialize and, express themselves without fearing censorship, without fearing being blocked out from the entire world in 1 second. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out. And I appreciate you watching this video. Tell me what you think. I'm really interested. And, don't forget to like and subscribe. And see you in another video. Thank you for watching.